Europe during the Victorian era was the birthplace of the Romantic movement. Which place do you think is the most romantic in Europe, though? Perhaps it is Paris in France? Maybe the hills outside of Madrid in Spain? Perhaps even the snowy covered peaks of Norway? If you said any of these, well, you're wrong. The most romantic place in Europe is Albania. That's right, guys, we're playing as Albania again. And for this video, I'm not really doing a challenge as much as I want to build an economy completely based off of fine art. And I'm doing this as Albania for no reason other than I think it's funny. So then, let's get started. We won't actually be able to start selling any fine art until we research Romanticism. As you can see, it's not available here. Obviously, to patronize the Romantic movement, we are going to have to unlock Romanticism with the tech tree. So until we unlock Romanticism, I'm going to start with a few basic things so our people can survive before they start having lots of philosophical thoughts, which we can then sell for massive profit. The first step in feeding the population is obviously going to be wheat farms. Then I'm going to follow that up with livestock ranches because this will provide us with fabric as well, which we can use for our textile mills so that we can also clothe our population. After that, I'm going to get a tooling workshop, which I can then use for the logging camps, and I'm going to build an iron mine, which will help us produce more tools and also consume tools. And once that is over, we can use all that extra wood to get paper mills, which we will then use to turn that into art. Before we get started with the actual industry, though, I am going to have to build a government administration building. I'm going to kick the landowners out of the government so I can start suppressing them. This has gone very poorly for me in my last Albania video, but hopefully it won't go as... Our king is innovative. That's going to be very helpful. I think in this case, actually for a lot of the smaller nations in Victoria, I think the private construction is going to be really helpful for starting some of them off, because it'll be buildings that you don't have to pay for, and generally as smaller nations you do not have a lot of disposable income. It's been 2 years and our king is already an opium addict. We have researched Romanticism. That means that we can start producing fine art with art academies. However, I do want to get some of the foundations done first before I get into that. Immediately after Romanticism, I'm going to get realism because that will allow us to upgrade our art academies, which we'll hopefully have by the time this thing is done researching in 10 years. Time to get some religious schools going. No taxes. What an interesting chain of events this is presumed to be. It looks like I was right. We now have schools. That should be helpful. When these are done, it'll be time to finally, it hasn't been very long, but it's been too long, we'll start getting the art academies out the door. Since this is going to be a heavily export-based economy that I'm going with, I think I'm going to go with free trade. If not, then I'll stick with mercantilism for now. Those events that we just got gave us an admiral for the navy that we don't have. After that event chain, it looks like we have a option to remove the current king from power, and it'll also give minus 30% interest group pop attraction to the landowners, which is very useful. I'm not sure if I want to get rid of this guy, if I'm being honest. He is innovative, which is a really good trait because it gives us 10% technology spread, and we can definitely use that. I'm not sure. I'll go for it. And the reason I'm doing that is because now we have a 5-year-old as our king. I think he looks really funny like that. Standard of living is going down because everyone's spending all their money on alcohol, despite the fact that we do not own any buildings which produce liquor. Yeah, 66% above the average price. So yeah, 22% of their expenditure is going towards alcohol. So we're going to start importing some of that from the Ottomans specifically. So given that we're doing like a whole lot of art and art academies and stuff, that's what we're basing everything off of. I think we're going for like the enlightened society sort of thing in this game. So there's 2 routes we can go with that. We can either go for the enlightened despot, where we keep the monarch and the autocracy, or we can get like a council republic and get universal suffrage and all of that. If this guy has good traits, then I'll do the enlightened despot. I'll keep him around and I'll stick with the autocracy. If he has bad traits, then I'll switch to a council republic. Bad luck. It looks like since I started importing liquor into my country, the standard of living has gone up a point. Apparently the religious folk are are going to support a larger, more effective military. And apparently the landowners don't like it so much that they'll start an insurrection to stop it. And in doing so, they are going to get out of the government, making it illegitimate. Maybe some other time. Change of plans. I'm not going to do realism just yet. I'm actually going to switch over to mechanical tools and atmospheric engines so I can get railways. Because infrastructure, I think, is going to be an issue here soon. The first art academy has been built. Let's start exporting it. And I cannot export it to anyone. Okay, so it's telling me right here, for the British market specifically, that my country desires to export two, okay? Desires to export two bits of fine art, okay? And they currently desire to have 2 bits of Albanian fine art. So then why can't I, then why is it if I try to export it to them, it'll be 0? That I don't understand that. I wish like there was a way that it had like, if someone out there can make a mod for idiots where it just explains all this in like a sentence, then that would be like really helpful for people like me. I'm gonna try reloading it, see if that does anything. It has not done anything. Okay, I've got a theory as to why this is happening. I'm thinking because Fine Art and Art Academy only produces like 2 at its starting level. I think it needs to reach producing 1 entire thing before it'll be able to export, is my theory. I'm not sure if that's correct, but I'm going to try that. But to get it to do that, either I have to have a lot more rich people in my country, or I have to be able to subsidize this. And to subsidize that, I'm going to have to get out of traditionalism, which I already wanted to do, but I haven't been able to do because, as you can see here, there's no combination of government that I can really do that doesn't have the landowners in it, which is going to make it so I can actually pass laws. The biggest reason why I have no legitimacy is because I have autocracy and my head of state is part of the landowners. So unless I can get out of this, then I won't have any legitimacy to get the landowner. It all comes full circle. It's the landowners are too powerful to get taken out of the government because I have an autocracy and can't switch out of an autocracy without getting rid of the landowners. Here, Ottomans, you want some fish? What I need to do is I need to get the intelligentsia in the government. And it looks like I'm 1 legitimacy point away from being able to do that. So hopefully if I can suppress the landowners a little bit more, maybe a few other people, some of that clout will trickle down into the intelligentsia and then I'll be able to start doing stuff. So we are now producing 1 unit of fine art, and it does look like my theory earlier was correct that we'd have to be producing 1 unit of fine art before we could start exporting it. So once I'm currently producing a whole bunch of these art academies, but once we start constructing these, then we'll start exporting it everywhere. Right now, I'm currently trying to get a professional army, despite the fact that I have literally 0 barracks, only conscription centers, mostly just because currently peasant levies is giving political strength to the landowners, and I want to take it away from the landowners at the moment because their clout keeps going up and I can't do anything about it. Well, there goes my hopes of getting a professional army. Nuts. Like I can go for appointed bureaucrat, so that will also take away power from the landowners, so I'm going to do that instead. Let's try this again then. The second art academy has been constructed, and actually there's enough rich people in my country that we're actually consuming it already. But I think it's time to start exporting it to people. Let's start with the Ottomans since they're right next door to us. Actually, never mind. Let's wait till you have a few more academies before we start doing that. We have railways, so it's time to go back to realism. Realism has been researched. The next step in that tree would be the camera, which is 28 years away, so we're going to do something else in the meantime, like egalitarianism. Actually, never mind. I'm going to go for the stock exchange and then postal savings and maybe modern sewage. Professional army failed again. Let's go for appointed bureaucrats. The lucrative art trade is going to begin soon. Let's even encourage exports on that. Time to switch over the academies. I'm going to switch it to independent artists just because that's the nice one. I could go for this one. I'd probably get a little bit more investment pool because there'll be richer people in here, but I think that'll also make it less profitable. And I'll also give political strength to the aristocrats because there will be more of them employed, so I'm just going to go for independent artists. And it looks like the Russians are absorbing most of the extra fine art that I just produced. That's really good. That means I don't have to export it to as many places, which means that I can keep bureaucracy costs down. Basically, as long as the Russians can keep buying my stuff, I can keep selling it to them. Hey, we finally have appointed bureaucrats. Not only does that take away strength from the landowners, but it increases the strength of the intelligentsia. So that's going to be really, really helpful. We can now get the rural folk in the government too. That's really awesome because that means we can now get out of traditionalism and go to agrarianism. No, thank you. Our king has finally gained his first trait. He is brave. Now finally get the intelligentsia in the government and not have an illegitimate government. So now we can drop this down to landed voting or wealth voting even. Nope, just landed voting. Okay, well, gotta start somewhere. We've currently got 4 art academies. We're working on 2 more. And it looks generally pretty productive, pretty profitable and whatnot. However, it's only paying $23 in taxes. I had to kick the intelligentsia out of the government because it was making an illegitimate government, so I couldn't pass laws. However, this did have one good event for it, so we still have a 5% chance to actually enact landed voting, so it might still be possible. The realist movement. Alright, we have 3 choices. Art Academy throughput, very good. Technology progress towards the camera, or political strength of capitalists. All of these are actually super helpful. The political strength for capitalists will give the industrialists more political power, and I do want to pass a few laws that they'll support. Also, this is gonna be really helpful. It'll let me upgrade my my art academies in the future, and then this one will just make it temporarily. So I'm gonna go for this one. We now have landed voting. This is a step forward. We finally got the landowners out of the government for good now. Hopefully for good. Right now, so the next thing I think I'm going to want to go for is free trade, because currently the tariffs are hurting my trade a good bit, especially when it comes to coal. Hey, look at that. First try, and it was only 16%. That's awesome. Oh, and we have a massive refund of bureaucracy now. That means I can actually delete a few of these government administration buildings. No, it doesn't actually. Huh. Is that new? I remember being able to get rid of these. These are making my trade route volume go up so much, dude. Free trade is absolutely broken in this game. A little bit of a, not really an exploit, but just a broken game mechanic. So if you are currently having a revolution cooldown, as I am, because the landowners did not want me to pass free trade, well, if that is happening, then that means they can't have a revolution for another law that you want to pass. So I'm going to go right to proportional taxation, and they shouldn't really be able to do anything about it because they're still cooling off from this. There's an element to RNG to this, so it won't always work. Sometimes it'll immediately go away and switch to the different revolution. However, it does work sometimes, so drop save game and then do it. I should mention that if the law you're trying to pass does radicalize another interest group, then it won't work, because then that interest group will start a revolution and then the people in this one will join them. So it won't work if you're pissing off 2 interest groups, but if it's just one, as in this case with the landowners, then this should work. There we go, proportional taxation. The landowners are still trying to start their little revolution because of free trade, and it's not gonna work. So that means I can still pass another law without them getting too uppity. I'm thinking total separation. Actually, never mind. That's gonna also piss off the devout, so I can't do that because that'll start a different revolution, as I mentioned earlier. I think I'll go for wealth voting. The enlightened despot has gained another trait. He is a popular commander. Well, I mean, he's not a commander. I mean, I guess if he really wants to be. I've got so much bureaucracy to play around with. He can be the head of the armed forces if he wants. It's fine. The head of the non-existent army. You know what? Just cause he wants a few soldiers to play around with, I'll give him 1 barrack. Just 1. It's gonna be irregulars though, and no artillery. Let's not get too crazy. Women's rights. Wow, apparently the landowners are still trying to plot a revolution about free trade 3 laws later. That was quick. I should have done this a long time ago. I actually forgot. Oh, and it looks like the landowners aren't even going to be upset. No one's going to be upset if I ban slavery. All right. I should have done that a long time ago. I'm sorry. More art academies. Honestly, the standard of living is really crummy at the moment because I've been investing everything into art economies instead of building like a functional economy. I built a few things to help the economy function and whatnot, but like I've been spending all my construction on art academies, which only employ 1,000 people for every building level. We are currently the 10th producer worldwide of fine art. However, we only produce 10 pieces of fine art, and Great Britain produces 252. So we got a little bit of catching up to do. And we start exporting art to the British, so then they'll stop producing it themselves, and then I can fill in that gap and produce more myself. So then their lead will shrink and mine will grow. And there we go. That took me way too long. He is now an explorer. That's really interesting. I might actually send him on an adventure at some point when I have enough funds to do it. I'm thinking the next step is going to be increased citizenship. If I do cultural exclusion, that's going to radicalize the religious people. So I'm going to go to racial segregation first. In order to send the king on a bit of an adventure, I have to have 3 people that are either a general or an admiral. Currently that works for the king because he is a general. I also have to have an interest in wherever I want to explore. In this case, if I wanted to explore the Congo, I'd have to have an interest there. And let's see, do I have enough? Yeah, I cannot declare any interest right now because my army is not big enough. I don't have enough naval power projection is, I think, how that is calculated. So I need that. I need to have 3 generals, and I also have to research this word I'm not sure how to pronounce, which prevents malaria. Time to replace the peasant army. Time to move on from agrarianism. I'm going to switch to interventionism. I'm going to start exporting our art to the Ottomans as well. That was really quick. I think that was the first try. Dang. I'm pretty sure in the previous update of this game, construction sectors benefited from the economy of scale, so stacking them was like a genuine strategy, but it doesn't look like they're affected by that anymore. Something to keep in mind. I think the French are also going to want some of my art, and also the Germans too. You know what? And the other Germans while I'm at it. The Italians too. Look, they look like they want some fine art. A large number of Albanian people have begun migrating from the Ottoman Empire to Albania and its surrounding states. Currently, I'm exporting my art to a lot of people, and I'm running out of people to export it to, and these trade routes are not upgrading themselves, so this is becoming less and less profitable as time goes on. We now have photographic art, which means we're going to produce significantly more. Hopefully that'll drop the price down enough that these trade routes will upgrade themselves. Let's look at it right here. And they are not going up. Private construction has just completely stopped. I'm not sure what that's about. Like, there's still plenty of things to do around here. We should use our art to capture the beauty of Albania. Yes. Sounds like the best option. Yep, the art academies are no longer fully employed because it is becoming so unprofitable. So I've come to the same conclusion that I came to with my Cuba video, where I try to just sell bananas to everyone. Focusing on one item doesn't work. Don't do it. It doesn't work. It never works. Just don't do it. So as you can see, the GDP right here is starting to crash. So I think that's going to be a good place to leave this video. The Albanian art economy, I have concluded, is very ineffective. Don't try it. But if you liked seeing me mess up and test things that don't work so that you can not make the same mistakes as me, then please like the video and consider subscribing. And if there's any Victoria 3 challenges, ideas you want to see me do, let me know in the comments. But that's gonna be it. Goodbye.